Alright, we're going to tie a green caddis wet or an emerger called a Karnopp's Riffle diver. And we fished this fly for the last couple of years. It's been just killer. It's got this bright green chartreuse ostrich body and a little partridge and a black bead. And you know, for some reason I was a little skeptical of this when we first brought it in, but it has been a really good fly during the McKenzie Caddis hatch. I've slid already on a black nickel bead. Doesn't have to be tungsten, but if you want it to, great. This fly, I'm really going to catch fish swinging it or hanging it underneath a big dry more often than I am just dredging with it on the bottom. In this case, I'm not going to take this body way back to the bend of this long shank hook. I'm going to leave that back end of the hook slightly exposed. So I'm going to come about even with the point where I start my fly. And the first step I'm going to do is to tie in some silver wire. Doesn't really matter what gauge it is. This is kind of a medium silver. You could do a real light silver wire. That's my rib, and I want to run the rib through something like this ostrich just because it is going to add durability, and a couple of fish on ostrich just shreds it. So the wire is going to buy me a little more time with this ostrich. 3 strands of ostrich. I'm going to clip off as close to that stem as possible. Tie him in with the stem end, or the butt end of the stem, so that's closest to the main stem of the feather. And I'm going to then wrap those forward. The unfortunate thing about this ostrich that I have is that it's just not that long, so it may take me 2 or 3 times in order to get this fly all the way up as far as I need it to the bead. And what I mean by 2 or 3 times is I might have to stop right here and tie that off and then do it again in order to get all the way up to the bead. Now, if I had 12-year-old Sri Lankan fingers, I'd be able to do a better job of that, but as it is, I'm going to stop right there and then retie again 3 more fibers. Again, with the strongest side, or strongest end. So I've taken the closest to the main feather, and that's the end that I'm tying the ostrich in. If you tie it in the real thin tips, you're going to break it when you start wrapping it immediately. I'm trying to make that as seamless a connection as I can right there. Wrap backwards even if I have to. And come forward. I've still got a little bit of work to do here, so that is probably about good. Tie that off. So maybe it's 3/4 up the shank there. And tie that off. Cut that off. And at this point I can run that wire through and tie him off. And I'm just going to run that through. That's 4, that's 5, that's 6 wraps. I'm going to bind that ostrich down, and maybe my wire is a little heavy, but the medium or a small wire would work fine for that. Now my next step is to wrap a little partridge here for a little hackle. And I've got a partridge skin. You can find a variety of feathers here. On this one we've picked out the best ones in the middle, but kind of a lighter gray feather on the edge here might be fine. And lengthwise, I'm looking for this fiber length to be about from the eye back to the point. You see that? That's my length. And pull away the fluff, so I'm left just with the usable part of the feather. Expose the tip. That's where I'm tying it in. Natural curve of the feather, I want to work with me here, so I'm going to tie it in down rather than up. I'm going to tie that tip right in here. Cut the stem of the tip off. That's my hackle plier for this one. As I wrap each time, I'm going to brush that feather back, forcing it back so it works with me a little bit here. The bead to slide up. That's 3, that's probably about good. I just need 2 or 3 wraps, so the fine part of the partridge is all I really need. you get way down to where this hackle plier is, you're going to have a real thick stem and unnecessary bulk. So that's kind of going crazy right now, but if I just pull that back and tie a little bit of thread over the top of that, that's going to be fine. Next step is just 3 little pheasant fibers coming off the back of that. Just they're going to end up being longer than the partridge. So I'm going to grab a pheasant tail, center tail, and it's going to have those nice long fibers coming off of it. 3 or 4 or 5. And cut those off the stem. Use that natural curve of the feather, lay it over, coming back to the bend of the hook. Lay it right on top. Come over the top gently. Then you can kind of orient it where you want it. Crank down on it a bit. And clip that guy off. My last step, and I think one of the most important steps, and you'll see this in the posse bugger and in this particular fly, is that black caddis pupa head. And so this is black ice dub. Peacock, natural peacock would be fine. It just tends to come apart like that ostrich. So if I don't reinforce it with something, peacock looks great, but it's not quite as durable. So some of the ice dubs and peacock dubbings, they've really done a nice job to emulate the sparkle and the attractive aspects of peacock without and added durability. So there's my black head there, and it's a little longer black head than I would like, but it'll work. And I think the black head is critical in terms of showing that caddis look to it. So when you take a caddis, whether it be in the case or free living, and it's always got that dark head, I think that's a triggering factor for the caddis. So that's called Karnopp's Riffle Diver. It's a great fly to fish behind a big green caddis end of April, all of May.